I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Every single day, without fail. The doctors say it's common at my age, 78. It still doesn't make it any easier. I lie there in the early darkness, listening to the ticking clock downstairs. In this quiet house that sound carries through every room, I turn to my side and glance at the empty space next to me. Miriam's pillow is still there, untouched, though it's been 3 years since she passed. Some mornings I still forget. She's gone. My hand instinctively reaches out for her shoulder, only to meet the cold pillowcase. I dreamed about her again last night. She was standing in the garden among the roses we planted together each spring. She wore that soft blue dress I always loved. She was smiling, saying something, but in the way dreams go, I couldn't quite hear her. I tried to move toward her, but the distance between us kept growing. Eventually, I give up on sleep. I slip on my robe and slippers. The house is chilly still. Saving on heating like we used to when money was tight. Old habits stick, even when there's no one left to complain about the cold. I go downstairs slowly, holding the banister. My knee aches. Rain must be coming. Not that it matters. I have nowhere to be. The house is far too big for one person now. 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a dining room I haven't used in years, and a study where my old teaching books collect. Dust. Miriam and I bought this place 35 years ago. When I became principal at St. George's, it was once full of laughter and life children running. Sunday dinners, family dot in the kitchen, I boil water for tea. Still Earl Grey, still 1 spoon. Of sugar. Miriam used to tease me, said, I drank it like an aristocrat, weak and floral. She liked it strong. I glance out the window toward the garden. It's become wild. I used to keep it tidy, but my knee makes it harder, and gardening alone just feels wrong. The roses she loved so much, some still bloom, the hardy ones. Most didn't survive. The kettle whistles. I pour my tea and sit at the kitchen table. On the wall hangs a family calendar. Miriam started that tradition when the kids were young. I still buy one every year. This one, like the others, stays mostly empty. Today is Thursday, May 27th. Just another quiet day. I open the fridge, pull out the milk, and it's gone sour. I forgot to go shopping again. Lately, my memory's been fading. Little things slip away, even though I try to hold on. I toss the milk and settle for toast with jam. The house is so quiet I can hear every ticking clock. We used to collect them one. In every room, they're all out of sync now. After Miriam died, I never bothered fixing them. What's the point? Time moves differently when you're alone. I turn on the radio just for noise. The news, politics, traffic, it all feels so far removed from my world now. My universe has shrunk to this house, these memories, and silence. After breakfast, I walk into the living room. On the mantel are pictures, our wedding day, the kids growing up, birthdays, graduations. One from our golden anniversary. Miriam was already ill then, but still smiling. After she died, things changed. At first, the kids visited often. They brought meals, checked in, but slowly the visits stopped. The calls grew shorter. Everyone has their lives. I understand that. But still, it hurts. Parker, my eldest, he's 49 now, a real estate appraiser. Always busy. Married to Tamsin. 2 kids. They live in the house I bought them years ago. Lilith, my daughter, is 44. Works in accounting, married to a gym teacher. 1 daughter, Willow. Hi. Always tried to help my children. Not spoil them, but support them. On a principal's salary, that wasn't easy. But Miriam and I saved, bought rental properties. By the time I retired, we had 7, including this one. I gave 2 to my kids. The rest still bring in income. Not that anyone asks Dot after Miriam died, I noticed a shift. Parker stopped picking up my calls as often. Lilith became distant. At family dinners, I sat alone. On Father's Day last year, I waited all day for a call. Parker texted that night, "Happy Father's Day, Dad. Sorry, been busy." Lilith never said anything. I asked once if something was wrong. They just said life was busy. But I could feel the truth in their eyes. I'd become the lonely old man in the background, talking about the past, mentioning my knee too often. Maybe they're right. I do talk about the past, about the days I felt useful, when people respected me, when Miriam laughed beside me. The phone rings, startling me. Lilith's name flashes on the screen. Strange for this early. Hello? Hi, Dad. Her voice sounds strained. How are you? I'm fine, I say, knowing she doesn't really want the details. And you? I'm good. Listen, it's Willow's birthday on Saturday. She's turning 24. We're having a little party. Thought you might like to come. There's no warmth in her voice, just obligation. Saturday? I ask, though I haven't forgotten. May 29th. I never forget her birthday. Yes, around 3 p.m., just close family and some friends. Family. I wonder who that means now. Of course. Thank you for inviting me. She hesitates. Dad, just maybe try not to talk too much about politics or the tenants. Willow's not really into that. It stings. A gentle push to stay. Quiet. Of course, I say. I'll be on my best behavior. That's not what I meant, she replies quickly. But we both know it is. I understand, I say. There's silence between us. We used to talk for hours, books, school, movies. Now it's like we speak through a pane of glass. Okay, I need to get to work. See you Saturday. See you then, I replied as the call ends. She doesn't ask if I need help getting there. I haven't driven in years. There's no bus. I'll call a cab. I walk back to the living room, stopping at the mantel. There's Willow at her high school graduation. Beautiful. She looked so much like Miriam when she was young, same kind eyes. Same smile. Miriam adored her. They baked cookies together. Shared stories about her childhood in Devon. After Miriam died, Willow visited me a few times. We had tea, talked about Grandma. Then, she stopped out. It's her birthday. I need to bring something. What do you get? A 24-year-old these days? I don't know. In the past, I'd ask Miriam. She always knew. Money feels cold. A book? No idea what she reads. Jewelry? I remember the box. I go to the bedroom and pull out the wooden case from the closet. Miriam's jewelry. She wanted me to pass it to the granddaughters someday. I open it. Her perfume still lingers. Inside, among delicate pieces, rests a pearl necklace. Timeless. Miriam wore it often. Maybe this is the right gift. Earrings, a gold bracelet with engraving. And suddenly I see it, a gold watch on a chain. It's old, from Miriam's grandmother. She only wore it on special occasions. I open the lid and inside it's engraved, "Time is the most precious gift." Perfect for Willow. I glance at my watch and think about the upcoming party. Part of me wants to go to see the whole family together. The other part fears another disappointment. Cold stares, polite but empty conversations. Miriam would say, "Go, Eustace. They're your family no matter what." And I would go for her sake, for the memory of a time when we were a real family. I put my watch in my robe pocket and walked to the window. It's starting to rain, just like I predicted. Droplets tap on the glass, blurring the outline of the garden. I wonder if Miriam's roses will survive another season without proper care. Some of them are surprisingly hardy, like myself. I suppose it's settled. I'm going to Willow's birthday party. Give her my great-grandmother's watch. Try to reconnect with the kids. At 78, it's not too late to try. Right. In the meantime, it's just another lonely day in a bygempty house. The radio in the kitchen is still on. The announcer's laughing at some joke. I go back in there to turn it off. Silence fills the house again. Only the clocks continue to count down, each in their own way. Saturday came faster than I expected. The first thing I did when I woke up was look at the calendar, even though I already knew what date it was. May 29th, Willow's birthday. 24 years ago, Lilith had called me from the maternity ward, and I'd rushed there with a huge bouquet of pink tulips. Miriam was holding Theetney bundle then and crying with happiness. Look, Eustace, we have a granddaughter. Now that granddaughter is a grown woman who barely finds time to say hello to me in rare occasions. When did this happen? At what point did I go from being a beloved grandfather to a burden? Getting out of bed, the first thing I did was pull my best suit out of the closet. It was a dark blue wool suit bought 8 years ago for Miriam's brother's funeral. I've lost weight since then, and the suit fits baggy, but I don't fave another. Shirt, pinstripe tie, polished shoes, just the way you'd expect for a family reunion. I already packed Willow's gold watch last night. I'd found a gift box in the pantry. Lined the inside with velvet fabric cut from Miriam's old pillow. She would approve of such a use. On top, he put Asmal card that read, Dear Willow, happy birthday. This clock belonged to her great-grandmother. I hope it will remind you of your family roots. Love. Grandpa. It took me 3 tries to write that short note. The handwriting is no longer same. My fingers are shaking. Another unfortunate reminder of age. I have my usual breakfast of toast and tea, no appetite. I'm as nervous about seeing my family as a schoolboy before an exam. It's funny, isn't it? At Miege, after all I've seen and experienced. I turn on the TV just to distract myself. It's a Saturday night gardening program. The presenter is talking about how to prune rosebush. Miriam always watched this program, taking notes in her gardening notebook. I watch for about 10 minutes, then turn it off. Terraces in the yard are almost dead without her care. Anyway, the party's still a few hours away. What can I do? I decide to clean up my office, the room I used for work when I was principal. There are still shelves of books on pedagogy, folders with documents, awards, and certificates and frames on few walls. I sit down at the massive oak desk and open a drawer. Inside are old letters from former students, greeting cards from colleagues, handwritten notes from presentations at teacher conferences, a whole life packed into cardboard boxes and wooden crates. I pull out one of the folders. St. George's School Annual Report, year 2005. My last year before retirement. I open it, flip through the pages, photos, progress charts, reports on extracurricular activities. At the end, a letter from the Board of Trustees thanking me for 20 years of distinguished service as principal. Under Mr. Broof's leadership, St. George School has become one of the finest educational institutions in the region. His dedication to education, attention to the needs of each student, and innovative approach to administration deserve the highest praise. I was a good principal, strict but fair. Students respected me. Parents listened to my opinion. Colleagues valued my expertise. I meant something in this world. And now I'm just an old man living in the past. Even my own children look at me with barely concealed impatience when I start talking about my work. Yeah, Dad. We know you were a great principal, Parker says, rolling his eyes. Why don't we discuss something more current? Lilith suggests changing the subject. To them, my career, my accomplishments are just old stories they've heard 1,000 times. They don't realize that without those stories, I am nothing. A waste of space. A useless old man who does nothing but take up space and consume oxygen. I close the folder and put it back on the shelf. My gaze falls on a framed photograph of me presenting diplomas to graduates. 2005, my last graduating class. Among them is Orwell Tyndale, a boy with amazing math skills. He won a scholarship to Cambridge. As I recall, I wonder where he is now. What has he achieved? Where am I now? Sitting in an empty house, going through old papers and preparing to meet a family that barely tolerates me. The clock on the wall reads 12 hours and 30 minutes. Time to get ready. The party starts at 15 o'clock, but I need to call a cab ahead of time. At my age, it's better to be early than late. I shower, shave thoroughly, even put on cologne gift from Parker last Christmas. A standard impersonal gift you can buy in any supermarket. But still, I dress slowly, trying not to wrinkle my shirt and suit. The mirror reflects a lean, older man with a straight back and a stern look. Principal Betrayal is still out there somewhere inside that old body. I call a cab through the app Lilith installed on my phone a year ago. It's more convenient. For you, Dad, no need to call dispatch. Actually, she was just tired of ordering a cab for me every time he wanted to go somewhere. The app says the car will arrive in 20 minutes. I still have time. I take the gift for Willow and check the contents one more time. The clock ticks quietly. As I open the lid, I wonder if she appreciates this gift. Will she understand its significance? Or will she just politely thank me and set it aside like an other trinket from her old grandfather? I go out on the porch to wait for a cab. It's a warm, sunny day. Children are playing in the neighboring yard, their laughter spreading through the street. My grandchildren used to play in my garden. Miriam baked cookies for them. I built wooden birdhouses and swings. Now they're too old for that kind of fun, and I'm too old to come up with anything interesting for them. The cab pulls up exactly at the appointed time. The driver, a young guy with headphones, barely nods a greeting. I give him Lilith's address and we drive off. On the way, I look out the window at the familiar streets of Hastings. The town is changing, new buildings, stores, restaurants, but the core remains Theesum, like myself, I guess. We pass St. George's School. It's changed too. A new extension, a modern sports field. I wonder if anyone there remembers Principal Befra. I don't think so. New generation of teachers, new pupils. Life moves on, leaving behind those who can't keep up. Finally, we arrive at Lilith's house. It's tawdry brick with a small garden out front. I bought it 17 years ago when she and Derek were first married. Spent almost all my savings then, plus took out a mortgage that I paid off for another 10 years. I wanted my daughter to have her own house so she wouldn't have to deal with rent like Miriam and I did when I was younger. I remember showing them the house before we bought it. Lilith was thrilled, hugging me, thanking me with tears in her eyes. Derek shook my hand and promised that they would turn the house into a cozy family nest. Looking at the house now, I noticed the changes. A new front door, a different color shutter, an attached veranda on the left side. The garden has changed, too. Instead of flower beds that Lilith used to love so much, there is now a lawn and a few ornamental bushes, more modern, less cluttered. I pay the cab driver and get out. My knee reminds me of itself again as I climb the steps to the front door. On the porch are pots of some exotic plants I can't identify. Miriam would know their names. I ring the doorbell and hear muffled music inside. I wait. No one opens. I ring again longer. Finally, the door opens and there's Derek, Lilith's husband, standing in front of me. He's wearing jeans and that shirt with a sports team logo on it, a bottle of beer in his hand. "Oh, hi, Eustace," he says with fake joy. "You're early. We're not quite ready yet." "Hello, Derek," I say, trying to sound friendly. "I hope I'm not interrupting you." Preparations. No, no, no. Come on in. He steps back, letting me inside. Lilith is in the kitchen fiddling with the appetizers. Willow's not here yet. She'd be here around 3 with her friends. I enter the house and immediately notice how much. The interior has changed since my last visit, which was one Christmas. No, it's been Christmas alone. Thanksgiving? No. I think the last time I was here was September for Derek's birthday. The walls have been repainted from beige to gray, and there's new furniture, minimalist, modern. Gone are the bookshelves I helped install years ago. In their place is a flat-screen TV on the wall and some abstract paintings. Did you renovate? I ask, looking around. Yes, in January, Derek answers without going into detail. Come into the living room and I'll tell Lilith you're here. He disappears into the kitchen and I'm alone in the unfamiliar living room. I sit down on the couch, too low and soft for my back, and look around. Not a single family photo in sight. There used to be a dresser with at least a dozen picture frames. Lilith and Derek's wedding. Little Willow, family vacations. Miriam with her granddaughter on her lap. Where are those pictures now? Tucked away in drawers like unwanted relics of the past. On the coffee table lay glossy magazines about interior design and healthy living. Not a single book. And Lilith was such a reader as a child. I remember buying her the complete works of the classics every Christmas. She was obsessed with Dickens and the Bronte sisters. Where are those books now? There are muffled voices coming from the kitchen. Lilith and Derek are arguing about something. I hear my name. I told you he was coming too soon. Lilith's voice sounds annoyed. What was I supposed to do? Leave him on the porch? Derek replies. I pretend not to hear. I'm used to it by now. Finally, Lilith comes out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Her hair is in a sloppy bun, and her face shows signs of fatigue, which she tries to hide with a smile. Hi, Dad, she says, coming over and kissing me on the cheek. She smells like onions and spices. How was your trip? Fine, thanks, I say. Sorry I'm early. I was afraid I'd be late. It's okay, she waves her hand, but I can see that she's not. I'm not done eating yet. Derek offered Dad something to drink. Derek nods and opens the bar in the corner of the living room. Whisk gin wine, he suggests. Just water, please, I reply. Blood pressure pills. He pours me a glass of water and goes back to his beer. Lilith disappears back into the kitchen. Derek and I are left alone. How is work? I ask to fill the silence. It's fine, he answers briefly. Same old stuff. School, kids, training. Are you still at the same school, Kingswood? Yeah, for 12 years now. He takes a sip of his beer. How about you? You in good health? Not bad for my age, I said. My knee bothers me sometimes and my blood pressure spikes, but I'm not complaining. That's good. He nods and looks at his watch. Sorry, I have to help Lilith in the kitchen. And he walks away, leaving me alone. I sit with an untouched glass of water, feeling like a stranger in the house I bought myself. My gaze falls on the gift I'm still holding, Miriam's gold watch for Willow, a family heirloom. I wonder if there's a place for it in this modern, sterile house that doesn't even have a place for family photos. I stand up and decide to look around. There are several photos hanging in the hallway leading to the back of the house. I step closer. They're recent photos: Willow at her graduation, Lilith and Derek at some resort, a family photo with the Eiffel Tower in the background. None of them have me or Miriam in them. I continue down the hallway and stop at the door leading to a small office. The door is ajar and I peek inside. This room hasn't changed. Still the same bookshelves, old chair, desk. And here, finally, I see them. The family photos, including the ones of Miriam and me. They're not thrown away. just moved where guests won't see them. A sort-of museum of the past. On one of the shelves, I notice a familiar frame. A photograph taken on Miriam's 60th birthday. We're all standing in the garden of our house. Me, Miriam, Parker, and his family. Lilith with Derek and little Willow. Happy, smiling, a real family. When did everything change? Why? What did I do wrong? Dad? Lilith's voice behind me makes me. We see. What are you doing here? Just looking around, I answered, feeling like I'd been caught in the act. Nice pictures. She looks at me with an unreadable expression. I put them here after the renovation, she says after a pause. They didn't fit in with the new decor. I see, I nod, though I don't really understand. How can family photos not fit in a family home? The guests will be here soon, Lilith says, changing the subject. Let's go into the living room. I follow her back. Into the living room where Derek is setting glasses on the table. The music has gotten louder, some modern tune with no words. Are Parker and his family coming too? I asked, sitting back down on the uncomfortable couch. Yeah, they should be. Here any minute, Lilith answered, adjusting the flowers in the vase. And a couple of Willow's friends from work. Where is she working now? I wondered. Last I heard, Willow took a job at some marketing company after university. Global Marketing Solutions, Lilith answers proudly. She was recently promoted to junior manager. That's great, I say sincerely. She's always been a smart girl. She plans to buy her own apartment this year, Lilith continues. And I detect a note of superiority in her voice. She puts it off every month. She wants to do it all on her own without help. I get the hint. Unlike her mother who got the house as a gift from her father, independence is good. I agree neutrally, but family support is important too. Lilith doesn't. Answer only pushes her lips together. I've hit a sore spot. Maybe she thinks I'm insulting her about the house or implying that I should help Willow buy an apartment. Either way, that's not what I meant. But the doorbell interrupts the awkward pause. Derek goes to open it, and a minute later, Parker enters the living room with his wife Tamsin and their children Orson and Marion. Hello, everyone. Parker announces loudly, looking around the room. Spotsman nods. Oh, hi, Dad. I didn't realize you were already here. Hello, Parker. I stand up to greet my son. Tam kids. Parker gives me a quick hug, a formal hug, no warmth, and immediately retreats to the bar. Tamsin kisses my cheek and whispers, How are you, Eustace? You look good. A standard phrase said to elderly relatives. Orson and Marion, my grandchildren. Confidentials to nods and quick, Hi, Grandpa. Before diving into their phones, they've grown since I last saw them. Orson is 21 now, attending university. Marion is 19. Just entering. I sent them both money for their birthdays, but I didn't even get a thank you message. The living room fills with conversation and laughter, but I feel invisible. Parker is discussing some sports game with Derek, Tamsin, and Lilith are talking about renovations, and the kids are on their phones. No one's paying attention to me. I sit and stare at the gift for Willow. I'm still holding Miriam's gold watch, a family heirloom passed down through the generations, a symbol of continuity, of the bond of time. I wonder what Miriam will say if she saw what our family has become since she left. How would she deal with this alienation, this gulf between me and the children? Miriam was always the link. She remembered birdies, organized family dinners, called the kids just to see how they were doing. I, on the other hand, was a strict father, more focused on providing for the family, on building the material base. Maybe that was my fault. Maybe I should have been more vocal about my feelings, more open, less demanding. But wasn't I doing the best I could? Didn't I work myself to exhaustion to provide them with education, housing, stability? Didn't I deny myself a lot of things so they could have everything they needed? And the result is that I'm sitting in the corner of the living room of the house I bought, feeling like a stranger in the midst of my own family. The doorbell rings again, interrupting my thoughts. This time, it's Willow and her friends. I hear her voice in the hallway, a resounding laugh. Everyone perks up, going to greet the birthday girl. I remain seated, clutching the watchbox tighter in my hands. Now I will see my granddaughter, who once sat on my lap and asked me to tell her a story. I wonder if she remembers that, or for her, I am now just an old man who is invited to family. Holidays out of a sense of duty. I prepare for the meeting and hope that today, if only for a short time, I'll feel part of the family again. Not just a useless old man living out his days alone. Willow enters the living room, surrounded by a noisy group of friends. At once, it gets louder, brighter, tighter. My granddaughter has changed since I last saw her. Shorter hair, some unusual jewelry in her ears, a more confident gait. She's wearing a tight black dress and high-heeled shoes. She looks mature, successful. Everyone rushes to congratulate her, hugging her, kissing her. I stay seated, waiting for my turn. After a few minutes of commotion, Lilith finally remembers me and brings her daughter over. Willow, say hello to Grandpa. Willow turns to him, a polite smile on her face. Hi, Grandpa, she says, leaning over to kiss my cheek. She smells a floral perfume and a slight whiff of wine. Glad you could make it. Happy birthday, darling, I reply, trying to keep my voice from shaking with excitement. 24 is a wonderful age. Thank you. She straightens up, ready to step away. I have a present for you, I say quickly, holding out the box. Oh, you shouldn't have bothered. She accepts the gift with a polite smile. Open it now, please, I ask. I want to see your reaction. Willow casts a quick glance at her mother, then back at me. Something resembling irritation flashes in her eyes, but she starts to open the box anyway. It was your grandmother's watch, I say, as she unwraps the velvet cloth. Her grandmother gave it to her, and now it's yours. Willow pulls out a gold watch on a chain. It glistens in the light of the lamps. Antique gold with a slight patina of time. Open it, I offer. There's an engraving inside. She obediently opens the lid and reads, Time is the most precious gift. That's very nice, she says after a pause. Thank you, Grandpa. But I can see that the gift didn't make an impression. She looks at the watch with polite interest. Without a spark of recognition of its value to her, it's just an old thing, not a family heirloom, not a link to the past, not part of her roots. Your grandmother treasured them, I add, hoping to explain the significance of the gift. She wore them only on special occasions. I'll keep them safe, Willow says, closing the box and putting it in her purse. Excuse him, Grandpa. I need to say hello to the other guests. And she walks away, leaving me feeling like I just gave away a piece of my heart and it was just put in a box and forgotten. The party continues around me. Lilith is bringing out appetizers. Derek is pouring drinks. Parker is loudly telling some story. Everyone is laughing. I sit in my corner like a piece of furniture that's too hard to rearrange, but which interferes with the overall composition of the room. I tried to join the conversation when Parker starts discussing the real estate market, a topic I understand something about given my investments. In fact, the current situation reminds me of the early 2000s, I say, when there's a pause in the conversation. Back then, too, there was a price spike before the correction. Parker gives me a look of surprise that I know anything about this subject. It's different now, Dad, he replies condescendingly. The market is much more regulated other economic factors. And he continues history with his back defiantly turned to me as if to say, your time has passed, old man. I'm the expert now. I feel the color of shame flood my face. I wasn't just saying that. I've actually lived through several real estate market cycles, seen it all happen again. Bud Parker didn't even bother to listen to the rest of my thought. I shut up and sipped water from my glass. My throat issuedly dry. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have stayed home and sent the gift by courier claiming he wasn't feeling well. Lilith brings a large cake with lit candles into the room. Everyone gathers around the table singing happy birthday. I sing too, but my voice is drowned out in the chorus. Willow makes a wish and blows out the candles. Everyone applauds. The cake cutting begins. Lilith passes out plates and I notice that I'm the last to get midden. I get the smallest piece of cake. Maybe it's an accident. Maybe. The cake is delicious, I say, turning to Lilith. Did you bake it yourself? No. I ordered it from Sweet Dreams, she said, not even looking in my direction. Your mom always baked her own cakes, I say quietly. She had a special recipe for chocolate cake. Times have changed, Dad. Lilith cuts in. Everyone has a lot of work to do now, and no one stays at home baking cakes. Her tone makes it clear that complexities to Miriam are unwelcome. It's as if I'm scolding her for not being as good mother and hostess as my wife was. That's not what I meant, I tried to explain. I just remembered. But Lilith has already walked away before I finished. I'm left alone again with my little piece of cake and memories that nobody cares about. The atmosphere in the room becomes stuffy. Too many people, too loud conversations, too bright lights. My head is starting to hurt. I get up and go to the kitchen to get more water and a blood pressure pill. In the kitchen, Tamsin Parker's wife is loading the dishwasher. She is the only one who has always treated me with respect, albeit a little aloof. Everything okay, Eustace? She asks, noticing that I've taken out my pills. Yes, just a little headache, I reply. It's too noisy for me. Do you want some water? Don't worry, I'll get it myself, I say, pulling a glass out of my locker. How's Orson? I heard changed his major at the university. Yeah, from economics to computer science, she nods. He says it's more promising. That makes sense. I agree. Technology is the future. He's already been offered an internship for the summer, she says with pride in her voice. In a good company with the possibility of employment after graduation. That's wonderful. I am sincerely happy for my grandson. He has always been a smart boy. I remember when he took my wall clock apart and put it back together as a child. Tamsin smiles, and for a moment there is something like real contact between us. I saw the gift you brought for Willow, she says, lowering her voice. It's very touching. Eustace, it's a shame that young people don't always appreciate things like that. Yes, times are changing, I sigh. But I hope that someday she will realize the value of this watch. She will, Tamsin said, squeezing my hand. Just give her time. The irony is that I'm running out of time. I return to the living room with a new glass of water. The guests are in groups, all engrossed in conversation. No one notices me. One asks where I've been. I sit down again in my corner and watch the festivities as if through a glass. Orson and Marianari sitting on the couch staring at their phones. I approach them trying to make contact. How's the university? I ask, sitting down next to them. It's fine, Orson answers, not even looking up from the screen. And you, Marian? Have you decided on a major yet? Not yet. She gives me a quick glance and goes back to her phone. In my day, I begin and I see my grandchildren looking back at me with barely concealed chuckles. The university was a place for discussion, for the exchange of ideas. Grandpa, it's different now. Marian interrupts. Wahave the internet. You know, we can discuss ideas with people from all over the world, not just those who are physically near us. Of course, technology opens up new possibilities. I agree. But face-to-face communication has its value. If you say so, Orson clearly loses interest in the conversation. Look, we're texting with friends. No offense, okay? And they go back to their phones. I stay sitting next to them, but it's like there's a generational gap between us. Time passes. The atmosphere becomes more and more casual. Someone opens the wine. The conversations get louder. The laughter gets louder. I feel increasingly out. Offless, like a formal jacket at a beach party. I notice a beautiful vase with knotflowers on the table in the center of the room. I see it as an opportunity to do something useful. Lilith. I turn to my daughter as she walks by. Do you have any flowers in your garden? I could cut some for a vase. She looks at me in surprise. Why? We weren't planning a flower arrangement. I just thought it would be pretty. I shrug. For Miriam's birthday, we always put flowers on feedable. Lilith hesitates, then waves her hand. There are some bushes with flowers in the garden if you want them. The garden shears are in the shed by the fence. Thank you, I nod, glad to be able to escape the stuffy tension of the house for a while. I go out the back door into the garden. It's quiet, cool, and smells of earth and greenery. Immediately, it becomes easier to breathe. I follow the path to a small shed and find a pair of garden shears. There are some bushes with small white flowers in the garden. Not the roses Miriam loves so much, but they're pretty too. I begin to carefully cut the flowers, trying to pick out the prettiest ones. Working with plants is soothing. I remember how Miriam and used to spend hours in our garden, planning, tending. It was our shared hobby after I retired. She knew the names of all the plants. I was responsible for the hard physical work. A good tandem, engrossed in memories and work. I don't notice Parker, Derek, and a few guests coming out onto the terrace. They're standing around Fieberbeck talking, laughing. I'm close enough to hear their conversation, but they apparently don't notice me behind the bushes. Your dad's still a tough old man, one of Derek's friends says, nodding toward the house. How old is he? 78, Parker says. Sometimes he acts like he's 108, though. Everyone laughs. Does he live alone? Asks the some man. Yeah, in the same big house we grew up in. Parker takes a sip off beer. He refuses to move even though I offered him a smaller apartment or a nursing home. Nursing home? Somebody's interrupting. Can't he take care of himself? He can, of course, Parker shrugs. But it would be easier for every own. We wouldn't have to. Keep checking to see if he's okay, if he's had a fall, if he's taken his MEDs. When was the last time you checked on him? Derek asks with a chuckle. I don't remember. Parker waves him off. A month ago, too. He doesn't like it when we show up unannounced. No, he doesn't. I'm always happy to see the kids and grandkids. It's just that they hardly ever come. What does he do all day? Someone asks. I have no idea. Parker shrugs again. Watching TV, reading newspapers, complaining about politicians. The usual old man. Stuff. A new burst of laughter. I grip the scissors so tight my knuckles turn white. Hey, isn't that your father in the bushes? One of the guests suddenly asks, pointing in my direction. Everyone turns and sees me. I straighten up, holding a bouquet. A freshly cut flowers and a pair of scissors. Dad. Parker looks surprised and confused. What are you doing in there? Cutting flowers for the table. I answer calmly, though I'm seething inside. Lilith said it was okay. They look at me, an older man in a suit, standing among the bushes with garden shears and flowers, and I see the smiles appear on their faces that they are trying to hide. You look like a gardener, Derek suddenly blurts out and starts laughing. The others pick up the laughter. Parker tries to keep a serious expression on his face, but he can't stand it either and joins in the fun. Hey, Dad, We can hire you to take care of our garden, he jokes through his laughter. You've clearly found a new calling. I stand frozen in place with flowers in my hands and feel the laughter hit my dignity with scathing blows. Seriously, Eustace, said Derek, wiping away tears of laughter. All you need is a hat and rubber boots. A real English gardener from an aristocratic estate. You're a far cry from the headmaster, adds one of the guests. That's the last straw. I slowly lower scissors and flowers to the nearest garden bench. I straighten up, square me shoulders as I always do when I enter a classroom or address the school. I apologize, I say in a steady voice. I have to go. Come on, Dad. We're just kidding. Parker takes a step in my direction. No offense, but I'm already walking toward the back gate of the garden, the one that leads to the street. I don't want to go back inside. Don't want to go through rooms full of people who just laughed at me. Where are you going? Parker's yelling after me, Dad. I don't stop. I don't turn around. I open the gate and walk out into Fest Street. I walk as fast as my bad knee will allow. At the corner, I look around. No one followed me. No one tried to stop me. They probably thought I'd just gone for a walk to cool off. Or more likely, they'd already forgotten about me, going back to their talking and laughing. I pull out my phone and call a cab. Thankfully, the app still works. The car promises to arrive in 7 minutes. I sit down on a bench at the bus stop and wait, feeling a heavy, deafening ache building up inside. You look like a gardener. Those words echo in my head. I've been a respected man all my life, a teacher, a school principal, the head of a family, and now I'm an object of ridicule. An old man who looks ridiculous trying to do something useful. My phone vibrates. A message from Lilith. Daddy, where are you? Willow will be cutting the second cake soon. I don't answer it. Asterisk to be continued.